Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to this episode of the podcast. So today I'm recording video actually because I've decided, hey, I'm not gonna overthink this thing. I'm just going to like turn on the camera and then whatever I record, I record. Hopefully this frame is nice. If you're listening on audio, nice to have you. I'm happy you're here and we are chatting. Um, but in today's episode, I want to talk about value, right? And more specifically, I want to talk about finding the right market for your product. So if you followed my content for any length of time, I'm really, really big on value because I think in our lives as human beings, most of us want money, right? Unless you are like one of those awesomely amazing people who don't care about money and doesn't need money to do anything. Most of us want money. So rightfully, a lot of the systems that we interact with are centered towards teaching us how to make money. You go to school to get a job so you can make money. Of course, people will argue that there are other things that you do in the course of trying to make money that helps the world move forward, right? In trying to make money, you provide a service, and that ultimately helps the world make progress. And that's true. But I think money is like important, right? And it certainly has been important in my life. I think money is probably like one of the most important things right now in the age that I am. I want to make a lot of it. I want to keep a lot of it. I want to save a lot of it. And I think people like to live under this weird, impression that, you really don't need money. I think you need money, and I think you need a lot of money because it gives you the ability to do, just live life in a slightly different way. And I think one of my favorite quotes about this is like, money solves money problems, right? Money doesn't solve all problems. Money won't make all your problems go away, but money solves money problem. And majority of the time, most of the problems we have are money problems, right? It's only after you've solved your money problems that you can then start thinking about the things that are not necessarily like money problems. So, I think it's essential. So in that context, right, in the context of value and money, I want to talk about finding the right market, right? So here is kind of like the chain of thinking. I think money is a byproduct of creating value, okay? And what I mean by value is anything that you have done or are doing that somebody else is finding useful. It could be entertainment, it could be design, it could be education. Anything that somebody else finds useful is valuable to them, right? So value lies in the eyes of the beholder. Value is defined by the person who is, determining the value of that thing. I don't know if that makes any sense. So that's the first part of the thesis, right? Money is a byproduct of value. But if you want to create the most value possible for whatever it is that you're offering, you need to find the right market, right? And that's what I really want to talk about in today's episode, which is like finding the right market, or why it's important really to find the right market for the things that you do and the skills that you have and the products and services that you sell. Because fundamentally, there is a huge problem of a lot of people I know, especially creatives, right? Designers, developers, well, not developers so much, but designers, videographers, illustrators, photographers, who are not getting paid what they need to get paid simply because they are selling to the wrong market, right? And that's really crucial because what you do doesn't have a fixed value. What you do has a value based on who you're presenting it to and based on the context in which you are presenting that thing, right? So one of my favorite quotes around this thinking on this subject is context creates value. Okay, now let me explain what it means. Say it's a hot afternoon, right? You are standing by the roadside, you're trying to get a cab, and you're thirsty. You're extremely thirsty. You've been thirsty for a really long time. You've been trying to find some water. You can't find water. It's been hard for the last 30-45 minutes trying to find water. And somebody, pops up and they happen to have, water, and they're selling that water, and you ask them, hey, how much is this bottle of water? And they say it's 5 cedis, right? Now let's say water is normally supposed to cost 1 cedi 50 pesos. You're going to think, hey, that's ridiculous. Like 5 cedis, are you crazy? Why would you want to like charge me 1 cedi 50 pesos for why would you want to charge me 5 cedis for a bottle of water that could cost 1 cedi 50 pesos, right? And in that moment, you have one of two choices. You can either say, hey, screw you, I'm going to hold out longer and find somebody who's actually willing to give me that bottle of water for 1 cedi 50 pesos, or you're going to pay 5 cedis for something that you might as well, you very well know that should cost 1 cedi 50 pesos, right? Now, it's the same bottle of water, but the thing that determines the end value that you've given to the owner of that water is the context that you're in, is the things that are happening around you, the situation you're in, and how badly you need that particular bottle of water, right? Now, there's something else that's also important to note. Say the person says 5 cedis, right? And you oblige, like, hey, I'm willing to pay 5 cedis, but you do not have the money to actually pay that person. There couldn't be any transaction, right? So that's the other part of it that's really important. And I'll tie all this together, in a few minutes. So stay with me here. So, like, the things that are happening around you is determining how much you're willing to pay for that bottle of water. But then on top of that, you need to be able to have the money to pay for that bottle of water before the person who is selling the water can actually realize the value that moment is presenting, right? So context creates value. The context that you are in, the context that you're selling your product in is going to determine the value of that particular product or service. So if somebody really, really needs the thing that you're offering, and they've searched, they're going to pay you like a slightly ridiculous amount for it, because at that point they just need the problem to go away. They need to solve the problem more than they need to hold on to their money, right? So they're going to give you that particular thing. But in a situation where they are not as interested and they are not as thirsty, you might get slapped for trying to sell a bottle of water for like 5 cedis when it's like 1 cedi 50p, right? So that's the crucial thing, right? What is the context in which you're selling your service or your product? What's happening in the life of the person you're trying to sell to? Do they really need this, or do they just kind of sort of want this? How important is it to them? All that is really crucial. The second half of realizing value is, do they have the ability to pay you what you're asking for the product, right? So like I said, if that person wants water as badly as they want water, but they don't have, and they are willing to give you 5 cedis for that bottle of water, but they do not have 5 cedis to give you and have nothing else to trade, then you really don't have any business. You can't transact any meaningful business in that situation, because although there is a desire to acquire your product or your service, there isn't any means to be able to actually pay for that product or service, right? And I think the thing that most creatives don't understand, especially, and most people don't, is that the market is king. The market that you're selling to is, and by market here, I just mean the audience to which you're trying to sell this service or product to. That determines the value, right? So we could upgrade that quote that I said earlier on into something like, value lies in the eyes of the market, right? The market determines. So this, one of the most important determinants of if what you're doing is going to succeed or not, or if the service you're offering is going to be valuable at all, is just the market. It's like, who are you selling this to? What conditions are they in? Do they really need this? And do they have the means to pay for it? And it's a mistake I have made a lot in trying to build different things over time, which is like, I have an idea, and I don't really pause to think, is like, what's the market, right? And by the market, again, is really important. So I'm going to say it one last time. I mean, who has the problem? What is their context? How bad do they want to solve this problem? And do they have the means to pay you what you want to be paid for the solution, right? If you don't have those three things, you don't have a market, right? If any one of those things is missing, you really don't have a market. So the thing that I really wanted you to think about is that, like, whatever service you're offering, right now, take a pen and a paper and try to answer those questions. Who is the person that has this problem, right? And how bad is this problem on a scale of 1 to 10? How much desire do they have to get rid of this problem? What is their context? What is happening around them that is forcing them to want to get rid of this problem? And 3, if you do present a solution, do they have the resources, the means, the money to be able to pay for that solution, right? I think these things are crucial, and I think it's the single most important lesson I've learned in the last 2 years that has, caused me to move from charging peanuts to like charging really significant amounts of money for the services and the things that I offer as a designer, strategist, brand person, whatever it is that I do. And it's been game changing. Now, I think there are lots of different things that also contribute to just like the value that you're providing, right? Of course, the water has to be good. The water has to be water. The water has to be hygienic. The water has to be clean. The water has to be sealed. It can't be open. So there are other determinants that is going to influence if that person is even going to accept that thing at all. But all of those things are influenced by the context. So whatever it is that you're trying to do, the question that I want to ask you is, do you know the market? Do you understand the market? Can you give me a 2-line summary of, this is the person I'm trying to sell to, this is the problem they have, this is how bad they have it, and this is how much money they are willing to part with to be able to make that problem go away. If you can't answer those questions, I'm afraid you don't have a business, and I'm afraid you are going to keep getting undervalued in whatever it is that you're trying to do. And it's extremely important that you actually take the time to really answer these questions. And I think you'll make a big difference, right? So in all the things that I'm trying to build, in all these different ideas that I have, like that's one of the questions that I'm trying to answer the most. Like, what is the market for this thing? Can the market pay? Now, I want to add something else to this. You really don't need to worry about any of this if you're not trying to make money, right? Again, I said from the beginning of the podcast that money is important, and I think money makes a lot of things move, and I think money solves money problems. So I'm speaking in the context of somebody who actually wants to make money, right? If you don't want to make money, of course, like none of this really matters. You just need a very small audience of people, and all you need from them is reception, right? So you may still have to make some considerations if you're just trying to do something fun, but really, if you're not trying to make money, like you have to, sweat yourself so much. But I am trying, at least for the next 2-3 years, to make money in some of the ventures that I have. Not every single one of them, but to make money in some of them. And I've come to understand that the single most important thing that determines whether I'm going to make any reasonable amount of money is the market. Who is my market? Who is your market? If you don't find the right market, right, you're not going to make the money that you need to make, right? And that bottle of water in another condition could be sold for like 5 pesos, right? So the thing that I want you to take away right now is like, 1, the market is everything. 2, context create value, right? Value is not fixed. Value is not something that is fixed, that never changes. What is happening at the time of the transaction hugely influences the value of the thing that you're trying to sell. So for your skills and your services and the things that you do, I want you to pay huge attention to the context, the market, and price your things accordingly, right? So yeah, that's all I have for this episode. I know it's shorter, just a few minutes short, and I'm rushing off to another meeting, which is why I'm I was kind of moving through this really fast. But look, I hope you found that extremely useful and helpful. I might maybe do a part 2 to this. If you guys want me to do a part 2, let me know, ask questions, put your thoughts in the comments wherever you're listening or watching this at. And yeah, maybe I might just make like a second part to this video going more in depth. Maybe we might make a whole course. I don't even know, but I think it's really important and it's crucial. So we'll see what happens. But that is all I have for today's episode. And you know how we rock right here in the Epic Fam. You were created to do something awesome. You're created to do something epic. So until I see you in the next episode, you know what it is. Stay epic, my friends. Cheers.